Hello viewers, Lorenzo here, KSP to Mars episode 73, quite astonishing if you think about it. That is a high number of episodes, and for once we're starting at the KSC. Now in the previous episode we brought the Martian Explorer, the glorious ship and crew that did the first manned landing on Mars with a live return. Here they are, back in orbit around Earth. And while I think the ship could land in one piece, I'm going to get the science and the crew by way of a shuttle and leave the ship with its reactor products in orbit, which will also need to be stored in a space station that will be launched in the future. One thing that is going to happen this episode, I'm struggling to think how to show that to you. I think the best way to do it is by launching a weird ship. Let's see what this is. Is this the one I'm thinking of? No, it's not. Anyway, just disregard that weird spaceplane rocket thing, and I'm just going to the runway. It's just occurring to me now, I could also just load the ship I want to show you, but well, it's right next to the runway, so I want to go to the runway, and that's the way I'm going to show you. So screw this, this is nothing, this is just a test thing. What is over here, and now I can switch to it, is a big reactor with a bigger reactor with a microwave transceiver. Now, way in the the animation is a bit borky, but way long ago, like 20 or 30 episodes ago, we experimented with this with beamed power. Now our reactors have become a little bit more efficient, our radiators have become more efficient, and our beam antennas have definitely become a lot more efficient. So now that we can do this with just two reactors and just something of this size instead of covering a whole football field full of reactors, I feel it is somewhat, well, not quite as gimmicky to launch something using beamed power. So this is our beamed power station. And why we're going to use that will become apparent in just a moment as we grab the Orbital Science Retrieval Shuttle. It's the B shuttle for beam, B for beam. And we have two guys in the Mars craft, so we're gonna send Dudmin out. Ah, hell no, we're gonna send it out unmanned. It has a unmanned pod if I recall correctly, but I didn't put any power on it. No, we're gonna set Dudmin out. He will collect our two Martian Kerbals and the truckload of science they have. Now, as you gaze upon this rocket, which will happen in just a second or two, yeah, here we have it. We have a fairing around the Reentry bit. That's just a pod with a heat shield. We have a first stage booster, and that's it. I mean, if you've been watching some of these real solar system episodes, you might think this is a little bit too small to get to orbit, and you would be right. If it wasn't for the surprise, the beamed power. Here we have it. It is a microwave. I don't know what the M is for the medium size. We have a microwave thermal receiver, and this means that this upper stage, which carries just liquid fuel, is a pure thermal stage, and that as soon as we get out of the thick atmosphere here down low, this is also why we're using this engine, we will be able to boost to orbit with ridiculous amounts of thrust with an ISP with a specific impulse of around 800 to 900 seconds. And that high efficiency upper stage, which is made possible by the power of the beam, makes the orbital rocket ridiculously small. Now this thermal rocket nozzle has a specific impulse of around 300 whilst in the thick bit of the atmosphere, and that's why we're using a regular rocket here. Oh dear, this didn't happen before. Well, we have parachutes, so they survive, so we can just revert that. That was that didn't happen in the test case. That's a bit annoying actually. In the test case I didn't have a fairing on the rocket, and it had lots and lots of drag, but maybe that somehow kept it more stable. I don't know. We will try this again. Will it tell me how much drag we get on the fairing? It will. Well, hopefully this will work out. What I was going to say, in these lower thick bits of the atmosphere, this chemical rocket is actually better. It produces more thrust, unless we flip over again. I don't know why it's being such a bother. I mean, when I tested it, it went up straight in one go. No matter though, we will make a steeper ascent. We have all the delta V in the world, I think. Maybe we need some more struts so it's rigid. I don't know what's up with this thing. But this first stage will get it out of the thick parts of the atmosphere where the thermal rocket isn't that efficient. It's actually just the same as this, and this delivers more thrust. At least here, because for some reason when we get higher we get more power from the beam. I don't know why or how that happens, but it does. And yeah, if we crash again now, I'm going to add more struts, because we are somewhat wobbly, and I don't feel in control of this rocket. I don't feel in control of this rocket at all. I'm steering to the left as hard as I can. We did just break Mach 1. Things could be going well. Oh god. No, we're falling over. Oh shit. Alright, just hang on, I'll be right back. Right, here we are, back on the pad, added 4 struts, and I can tell you I tested it at least until the second stage, and it worked at least once. So, we're gonna do a bog standard lift-off move, where we pitch over just ever so slightly in the beginning and take the hands off the controls and let physics do the rest, at least up until a reasonable point, because I really want to show you what this beamed power can do. I mean, this thing, I think it's less than 40 parts, and if that can get to orbit in the real solar system, that is amazing. Okay, hands back on the controls. I'm just trying to sort of stall the turn, because I do want to gain a little bit of altitude. I don't want to end up at 45 degrees at just 5 kilometers, but I also don't want to flip over, stall, and aerodynamically disintegrate, of course. I mean, that would be a little bit nasty. We're crossing into supersonic territory now, and we're coming up on a 45-degree angle at a still fairly modest altitude of 9 kilometers, and it's really dangerous here now. I just enabled SAS to... Wait, did we just lose something? Oh, the Stay Putnik fell off. Well, fortunately we do still have a guy, because otherwise... I don't know how that fell off. I mean... the fairing should protect it. Oh shit! We went too fast. Oh dear. Well, it is a new launch system. We are dealing with never before seen thrust to weight ratios in the lower atmosphere, so there are bound to be a few issues. And I really wish one of these attempts would go as the ones that one of these attempts would proceed as they do off camera. I mean, that would be nice. Right, so let's wait a little bit longer with our turn and be ready to throttle down if we get some problems with the max Q. This is a classic max Q failure. I mean, everything was looking good. We were proceeding upwards, getting more speed, getting more altitude, everything was looking good. But then the increasing speed generated so much aerodynamic drag that even though we were gaining altitude, that increased faster and overcame the rocket's tolerances. So yeah, that was a pity. I'm going to try and stay away from using SAS, instead use my control surfaces to keep us pointing upwards a little bit more, and hope everything stays attached. And I think now is the time to throttle back a little bit. Oh no, 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 we're losing it. Oh. God damn it. Okay, once more. I wonder what would be the safer way to go. Like, go up higher or turn over more. I'm gonna try and go up higher a little bit, because then we're at least out of the atmosphere. And of course I have absolutely no recollection of what worked the first time, or what worked the first time after I added the struts, because damn, that worked pretty well. But now that I'm doing it on camera, I don't know, it must be performance anxiety or something. I don't know exactly how or what. I mean, we have a decent thrust to weight ratio. That means I should be able to turn over without immediately stalling. I just want to bunch up more, get into thin air, and then then it doesn't really matter how we maneuver, because the air won't immediately turn around and kill us. I mean, that's what's happening. Okay, we got some clouds. Alright, coming up on 4 kilometers. That's alright. 5 kilometers, still pointing pretty much up. But I'm resisting it more. You can see the wings doing their thing, and I don't want to control it too much because, well, to be honest, every control input is just really fucking dangerous. But I also don't want to leave it free to do as it pleases, because then, well, things go horribly wrong. I'm throttling back now a little bit, because this is the point where it used to go horrendously wrong. And my control is decreasing because I'm putting in less thrust, so less gimbaling authority. But also the air is thinner, so my wings don't do as much. I feel like we are now at 20 kilometers. That's good. Time to throttle up. Time to accept the 45-degree heading that is being generated through aerodynamic forces and Newton's control. Not doing a lot. Just trying to not fall out of this yellow prograde marker. And we're picking up speed, picking up altitude. Things are looking good, if you ask me. We're coming up on Mach 3, that's some serious speed. And we're accelerating at 3.5 G, but Dudmin, he's in for a fairly rough ride, because pretty soon he will be accelerating into orbit at, well, if we don't watch the throttle, he will be crushed. That's how badass this microwave thermal beamed receiver power, I jumbled up the words there, this microwave receiver for the beamed power in the thermal rocket, that's really badass. I mean, if we let it, it will crush Dudmin. Of course, we don't want to let it. Okay, we are almost at 2 kilometers per second at 56 kilometers of altitude. That's a decent part of the way there, and we're about through our first stage, ready to switch to the microwave thermal receiver. Let's activate that. We have currently control over 22 gigawatts of power. Here we go. Boom! And off we go. Look at that. We're at 12 Gs now. So we should immediately throttle back so that Dudmin doesn't exceed like 10 Gs, because that he wouldn't like that too much. Look, we're already up to 3.5 kilometers per second. I'm gonna manage the throttle to keep this at a stable 10 G boost. We're not even out of the atmosphere yet. I mean, our heat shield is generating less than a kilonewton because we are up pretty high. But you can imagine that if we do this off the launch pad, we will just explode against the air. Also, the ISP here is 866. That's really good. It's not nowhere near the fusion drive, but this is, you know, a simple thermal rocket. Problem is, of course, we have to be in range of the beaming station next to the launch pad, so it doesn't really work to go really far. Also, if we are further away, the power falls off, obviously, which we're already seeing. I mean, it also depends on the angle of this receiver and the transmitter, but, you know, it's not viable everywhere, but it's really good for a launch system. Here we are coming up on 7.5 kilometers per second, which is just about orbital speed, and we're almost through our fuel. I mean, it's not a free ride, but it's definitely an easy ride. Let's have a look at our trajectory. It's high, but not quite good enough yet, and you know, I am a little bit afraid that if we wait until here, that we won't have line of sight to the beamed array, which, well, I haven't actually tested, but wouldn't work. I mean, on top of the rocket here, we have a small standard chemical stage. This is about 1.5 kilometers per second of delta V, so we can do orbit finalization maneuvers, but we can also burn here where we have the beamed power still. I mean, we can angle towards the planet a little bit and try and get a periapsis going. I mean, this is a relatively modest 6G acceleration, and remember, our only goal here is to establish a stable orbit. Our Martian craft will do the rendezvous. And we can go to our periapsis, have a look what we need to get into a stable orbit, and that's less than the 2 kilometers per second we have on the chemical rocket. So we can just enable time warp without any fear. go there, and then we'll see if our beaming station turns out to be in range or not. If we want to use this around the whole planet, we will have to deploy a satellite network again. This power can be bounced around, but for now we just have the station at the KSC. Or we could switch our launch site to different bases and have something resembling something akin to the Deep Space Network, except for power, which would be nice as well. Oh shit, this is a problem. Well, not that big a problem. I want to turn the ship, but we don't have any electric charge. We actually have 0 electric generating potential on this ship. And yeah, it's actually out of the line of sight here. So this is not doing anything for us, and this is why we brought the chemical stage. So we are going to ditch it. Unfortunately, there's still a bit of fuel in there that would be useful, but alas, there's nothing we can do about that. So bye super stage. Fortunately, we have this here. These things don't have electricity generators, so there is a very low amount of steerability here. Fortunately, this is enough to, well, finish orbit on the dark side of the planet. And dark, I mean here in context of the microwave line of sight power array. So we have 500 more meters per second to burn with this, and then we're going to switch to our Martian craft, which will meet up with the shuttle and take the crew home. Which will be nice, because then we can have all the science we want. Wait, do we have enough delta V to get down? I sure hope so. Yeah, with the RCS we probably have... Yeah, we will have enough to get down. Let's see how much we actually need to get down, because this is a fairly high orbit, and well, we're going to do that from apoapsis, of course, because we need to get down, not up, to... Ooh, we need about 500. Yeah, we should have that. We should have that. And we're going to go for 50 kilometers for a nice safe re-entry, because of course there is science involved. Right, let's scroll out. This will be a high delta V maneuver to meet up with the shuttle, because the inclination is so different. I could of course have tried to launch into a somewhat similar inclination, but that would have required foresight and planning, which I did not utilize on this mission. How are we ever going to target the B shuttle like that? No, not like that. Come on, how am I going to target you? Yeah, target. Wonderful. Okay, then we are currently gaining altitude. Are we at apoapsis, or are we going away from it? I don't know. I don't know. We are going away from it. We have a 110 degree inclination change to complete. And we should do that the other way. That's going to be a big burn, I can tell you now. That's a 14 degree remaining. Here we go. How big is this burn, you ask? Oh, it's 1600 meters per second. That's not at all as large as I expected it to be, but that's because we're still so far out. Yeah, the reactor is on. I mean, look at that. Our orbital speed here is 690 meters per second, and the burn, just to change the plane, is 1632 meters. Plane changes are expensive, kids. Really expensive. But fortunately, we have 21 kilometers per second of delta V remaining, and that's at full thrust. Of course, we don't have to burn at full thrust because we're not in a hurry yet. We do want to do the time warping towards the maneuver node window, though. I think I'm gonna burn at half thrust. I mean, again, expend some luxurious fuel. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, then, boom, full thrust. No, half thrust. Even at half thrust, this burn will only take a minute. Oh man, fusion engines are so nice. These long hour burns are a thing of the past, and I am way happy with that. Wow, we're actually just completely going to get rid of this orbital component and just establish orbit in a new direction almost entirely. Nice. Also, it's going to be a massively large orbit. That wasn't really necessary, I don't think. But oh well, we have the direction now. We have the delta V. We'll just work with it. I'm going to set up a rendezvous, and I will show you that when it's done. Because well, the last episode was full of rendezvous and stuff, and well, we don't need to keep doing that over and over and over again. So see you in a few maneuvers. Right, and here we are, several maneuvers later, in plane with the shuttle, and starting to lower the periapsis towards that. And well, we are screaming in from about lunar altitude to low Earth orbit altitude, so that is going to be a close encounter. Well, not really a close encounter, but that will be an interesting speed difference. That's what I'm trying to say. Right, let's try a maneuver node here to see if we can. We should be able to easily make a encounter. I mean, sure. Shouldn't we? I mean, why is that not changing anything? Ah, what am I doing? We can just do that on the fly. That's not complicated. We just time warp to the periapsis, which we should take care not to overshoot, because that's a fairly exponential speed curve. I mean, we need to start at 100,000 times time acceleration, but then, well, gravity does its thing, and suddenly things start moving a lot quicker, and this happens. Fortunately, I have a quick save for that. Damn, time acceleration is a bitch. It has screwed me over several times already. Right. Try this again. 4 days. 3, 2, 1. Right, that's almost perfect. Thank you. Right, here we are. Periapsis. Wonderful. Altitude. 2,600 kilometers. Very close relative to everything else. We're at 9 kilometers per second. Time to reduce that. And become civilized and go slow and meet up with shuttles that will take our science to the ground. Yes, it will be the first re-entry in a long time, and hopefully I haven't forgotten how to do them, because that would be a tragedy. There isn't even an antenna on the shuttle, I'm just realizing, so even if we realize halfway through that it's not going to work out, we can't even radio the science home for a little bit of gain. No. These sciences have to make it down intact. We're decelerating at full thrust because we have 20 kilometers per second remaining at full thrust, and well, let's spend it. I mean, we are very accessible here with the ship. Does this even have a remote control? That's a question that might be worth answering. No, I don't think it does have a remote control. So if we leave it uncrewed, a potential resupply mission would have to rendezvous with it. Now that's not a problem in and of itself, but it is something to be mindful of. Also, something to be mindful of is to shut down the reactors when and if we leave it, because, well, that way we can save it for a while instead of for just a short while. I wonder why these rendezvous indicators are not changing. I mean, also I wonder why this node is now at 2 degrees. It wasn't at 2 degrees. Has the solar system gone crazy again, or is it just me that's burning in a slightly crooked direction? I mean, come on. Come on. If I do a maneuver node, I get the indicator, but not otherwise? What the hell kind of sorcery is that? Anyway, we have 21 kilometers on the maneuver node. Fine, let's use that. At least that way I am relatively sure that I am going to find an intersect. And we only need 43.7 more meters per second. And that means we are at, well, fairly similar velocities. That means the actual rendezvous will be straightforward. Now there is something I had forgotten. This engine kills Kerbals, at least Kerbals that are not in the cockpit here, if fired within 2.5 kilometers of them. Now, the ship here doesn't have any secondary thrust. We can disable the radiation safety. That would heal them. Or we can activate the radiation safety, and that would shut off the engine if a Kerbal would otherwise be killed. Fortunately, our shuttle has propulsive capability, so we might have to do the final rendezvous with that. But then we won't have the Delta V to get it down into aero braking territory again. So we'll have to get close with this. Let's see. 20 kilometers. That's close enough, and then we can, I don't know, make it a relative velocity of 30-ish meters per second, and then close to within 2.5 kilometers with that, and then use the shuttle to well, do the final bit, because we still now have to burn about 600 meters per second, which is, if we ask that of the shuttle, it will be dead in the water. I mean, we gave it fuel, but not enough for that. Where is it actually? Can we see it yet? No, we might not be able to see it yet. Distance 72 kilometers. We should be able to see it. There it is. Wonderful. Alright, we're going pretty much straight at it. So let's fire the engine and reduce that to 300 meters per second. Ooh, it's nice to just burn this at full throttle, because we don't care about fuel expenditures anymore. We are home. We are home, we are home, we are home. Right, what's our intersect going to be like now? Still 22 kilometers. Alright then. Let's give it some time acceleration. Not too much though. Fortunately, we don't have to do a docking. We just have to get it like sorta close enough to have them EVA over in a reasonable amount of time. So nothing too stressful happening here. Let's just completely zero out the velocity now and then approach them with, well, let's say 60 meters per second and slow that down to 10 when we are at, well, a non-Kerbal barbecue distance. Right, 21 kilometers. That's a little bit far to do on EVA, especially because we have to do a double EVA, but we shall just approach them. We will be missing out on the science that will be granted by landing a ship that was previously at Mars, but we may still recoup that in the future. Right, almost at 100 meters per second relative speed, and we need to slow that down before we go in kill zone range of the Kerbals. That is important. So let's ready the ship in the proper attitude. And we didn't tell, what was it, Hudbert, the pilot of the shuttle, that he was being approached by a radioactive barbecue. We thought that would not be nice for him, so we didn't tell him. We just said our trajectory planners planned everything in advance and everything will be fine automatically. We said nothing about impending death by barbecue. So hopefully that actually doesn't happen. Right. Oh, we actually stopped completely. Well, let's just approach the shuttle at 20 meters per second, and then we can switch to that. Ah, who am I kidding? We can go faster than that. 20 meters per second is so slow. I mean, we have enough Delta V to play with even in the shuttle. We have RCS. And otherwise they can always go back to the nuclear ship here and land that, but that will be a little bit dangerous. Okay, we go at 45 meters per second. Right. Some time acceleration until the shuttle draws close. I mean, can we now switch to it with just the key? Yes, we can. And now we need, of course, to target that before it gets out of range, because it is now approaching really quickly. I mean, is it going to hit us? It's not going to hit us. Also, we can steer. Oh, we have RCS though. We can steer with RCS. Okay, that was a mistake. I forgot about controlling this ship. and it's apparently still really difficult to do so because RCS was engaged. Okay, we need to chase it. Come on, fire those engines. Boom, boom, boom. Well, it's still just under a kilometer away. Alright, yeah, forgot about that. I suppose if we get it within... I mean, how are we on the RCS here? We're fine. If we get it within 200 meters, that should be close enough. I forgot that I forgot many things. There is no control authority anywhere on the ship. It's very basic. It has engines, it has RCS nozzles, and that's it, really. So we will need to rely on time acceleration to make things bearable. We're heading pretty much straight at the ship. Pretty nice look at that. There it is, appearing from the night with its radiators. These radiators are radiating megawatts of energy, so that's probably dangerous to cross right in front. But nevertheless, we shall park right next to it. We will park here and await the charges. So, Add-on, he is now our nuclear safety worker. Apologies that all of this is happening in the dark, but you know, you can't complain. I mean, you can absolutely complain, but please don't. Right, he is going to shut down these reactors. And I think if the fusion reactor doesn't have power from these guys anymore, it will shut down by itself. And if not, well then it will lose plasma containment and explode. No, that's not what happens. It has its own generator, so we still need to shut down the fusion reactor manually. But at least the fission reactors are now shut down, so we won't need that again. We won't burn the fuel needlessly, and that is what I'm trying to say. Right, here we have the shuttle that will take them down. Not luxury accommodations compared to their massive cruise liner, but still pretty okay. Right, let's shut down this reactor. Undeploy these things, and then we can leave it behind. In its current state, it still has enough consumables and fuel and everything to get everywhere in the solar system and back, which is nice. I mean, we can enjoy that. We have a spaceship on standby, and he's going to take all the data and move to the shuttle as well. And after that, we will have a nail-biting re-entry sequence, or hopefully a benignly boring one that will just give us all the science in the world. I think that's what's going to happen. That would be nice. I mean, we're still at 3,000 kilometers. I tend to forget that. I hope the shuttle has enough fuel to get back safely, because otherwise, well, then we didn't really accomplish anything. Then we need a new rescue mission. Right, so 3 guys in the shuttle. Orbit. Let's burn retrograde then. Here we go. That's not in the direction of the ship. It is not. Okay, fire up those engines. And off we go. Crude chemical engines. Doesn't matter though. I mean, can we unset the target? Yeah. All we care about now is Periapse height. How is our fuel doing? It's fine. Apoapsis, periapsis. Oh, we could have waited until the apoapsis, but that's pretty much where our altitude is at now. And I think we're still good to go, yeah. I mean, we shouldn't have come from a lot higher, but then again, that's a side effect of using... I mean, is this going to work out? I mean, this is a side effect of using the thermal thing, I was gonna say. Because... oh shit, we might actually... oh, we're also drifting! Shit, that wasn't necessary. We're going in the wrong direction. Fuck. I was gonna say it's a side effect of using the thermal thing to get into orbit, because the orbit is necessarily fairly high. Our fuel has run out. We have a periapsis here of 560 kilometers. That's due to a drift in attitude that I didn't spot, but fortunately we have RCS still, and we are going to burn that and hope that that will I mean, I'm going to add the 4 times time acceleration. Hope that that will reduce our periapsis enough. And if it doesn't, then we're screwed. I mean, then I'm just gonna cry. I think we will make it just by the scruff of our necks, though. We are aiming for a periapsis of 55-ish kilometers. I mean, our big heat shield will give us a lot of friction, a lot of drag, a lot of resistance, but we don't actually mind a second pass if we don't go in at once. We have a fairly gentle, oh man, 35 monopropellants, and I want to have a little bit to orient us properly. I mean, this shuttle, it was the propulsion method was really neat, but it has very, very low amenities in the way of actually being a shuttle, because, well, it doesn't have attitude control, it doesn't have reaction wheels, it doesn't even have electricity, but fortunately it does have monopropellant, and that means that we can, well, spin it around once or twice before we are actually going to enter the atmosphere. Look, here we are approaching atmosphere. Wow, that is a blocky continent. I think maybe that needs to load something, or this is just an unfortunate altitude. Right, well, anyway, let's ditch these. I mean, we don't need them anymore. I mean, we have people on board. This is nice design, isn't it? I mean, we attach remote control stuff, but not the electricity to run it. Right, so let's inflate the heat shield. And the display, no power. I don't know what the display is for, but there's no power. We will adjust our attitude. We will make it so that we get a little bit of lift out of that, like so. And use our attitude control rockets to keep this attitude. Now we want to be facing just straight prograde. Alright. There is nothing, we have no power, there is 0 control. We have 12 units of RCS fuel, which we can use to remain in control, but I hope that's not actually necessary. I think that, I mean, this is such a heavy thing. Well, it's 2 frames per second while we enter the actual atmosphere, or something. I mean, yeah, the RCS can be used to maintain attitude, but this thing, I mean, I'm hoping this is light enough, and this is draggy enough that it just won't flip around. I mean, if it does, I'm fairly screwed, but let's hope it doesn't. We're at 147 kilometers now. That's in the atmosphere, but yeah, we had that last episode. What the hell is the criteria for space? Or no, that was in the contracting series. I mean, the thing is how the game determines whether you're in space or not, and not for friction and deceleration, mind you, but for science experiments, is really strange. I don't know actually how it determines that, and it's not by altitude, that's for sure. Because then we were in the stock game in Stock Urban, and we were at 29 kilometers, going really fast, and it said we're in space while everything was burning up and exploding. So yeah, it's not altitude. And we are experiencing drag now at 125 kilometers, going over some... What area are we over, actually? We are... I have no idea where we are. Oh, we're over the Middle East. Nice. Are we going to land in Asia, or are we... I mean, we have India here. Or are we going to splash down sooner in the ocean in between? We will find out. We're at 120 kilometers now, screeching over the desert. Our RCS fuel is... well, it's actually holding up pretty okay. We don't need too much control correction yet. I know we've done this a million times, but I'm still excited for getting all the science and having these guys not die. I mean, Edon, Dutman, and Jedzer. Edon and Jedzer haven't had companionship other than each other for a long, long time, and they set foot on Mars. Dutman is a bit jealous, but, well, he can understand that the glory can't necessarily be for everyone. 98 kilometers. I mean, soon we should be experiencing some... we're experiencing deceleration. 2 kilonewtons, I think that's more than the RCS did. Are we actually coming out of orbit yet. Not immediately, but we will for sure. Actually, not for sure. We could just slow down a bit and come around for another pass. We are going to go deeper into the atmosphere. I put the periapsis at 55 kilometers. That has degenerated by 1.5 kilometers already. I think we will. I wonder if we'll make it over the ocean. It all depends on this periapsis, how fast that is going to drop. We're at 84 kilometers now, just entering space over the ocean, or actually the airspace over the ocean. And we are sufficiently far into the atmosphere that FAR is telling me we're going at Mach 28, which is, of course, is ridiculously, horrendously fast. Oh, we're starting to get some deceleration going. We're decelerating currently at about a G. Hey, there is a flag thing there. Things are starting to happen. We're at 75 kilometers. Deceleration is mounting. I wonder if I should trigger the parachutes just in case. Well, I'll do the same as always. I'll trigger the parachutes if and when the crew G limit, if and when the crew start dying because of G forces, then the last of them will pull the lever to deploy the parachutes, because then the science may yet be saved. Alright, getting some fire, 69 kilometers, 150 kilonewtons. We're getting into serious deceleration territory now. Coming up on 5 Gs. That's less than Dudman. I mean, Dudman is just saying that it's like, you think this is a lot of Gs? I ate 10 to 12 Gs on ascent to come get you guys, you wimps. But then again, he did have a rocket, and this is just the air imparting that deceleration. The large inflatable heat shield is doing a good stand-up job of doing things. The pod, of course, has its own built-in heat shield, but that's a fair amount more fragile than this thing. Which is basically just eating the heat for everyone. Deceleration approaching 7 Gs. We're decelerating quite nicely. We're at 58 kilometers, so not into the oh my god, the atmosphere is a brick phase yet. But we're going right through the sweet spot to decelerate us swiftly, but not catastrophically swiftly. We're about half of the way there at 4 kilometers per second now. Gs are still rising, currently actually at 7, not just approaching 7 anymore. And we're now at Mach 10. This is the range of real fast aircraft. RCS jets are firing to keep us nicely stable, but the fuel is about to run out. We have 2 more units, and I'm expecting to see some slight tumbling, nothing serious when that runs out. We're at only 2 kilometers per second, so even if we fall over now, we probably won't burn up because we're going only at Mach 5.5 at this point. That was a really nice re-entry. We're still going fast, we're still not really in control of anything, but we are going to splash down here in the ocean. We're currently at 1200 meters per second, which is still supersonic, but nowhere near fast enough anymore to actually cause heat damage. That means it's becoming time to deploy the parachutes. No, it's not time to deploy the parachutes yet. What the hell am I saying? We can wait for a good long time with that. I mean, we could ditch the heat shield, but that would just stay attached anyway. So before we ditch the heat shield, we would have to deploy the parachutes. It seems as though Eden, Dudman and Jedzor are in for a very, very safe landing. I even dare to use a smidgen of time acceleration. We're going at only 150 kilometers. Is because this thing is, it's almost a parachute in and of itself, really. So are they ready to flip around? I think they are. Let's deploy the parachutes. There they go. And if we now let go of the heat shield, it should drop away. No, the heat shield is still being draggier than the parachutes are. Doesn't matter though, it will drop away eventually. And yeah, we are completely out of resources. We have no way to turn this thing around. We have no power to use a reaction wheel. We have no power to use RCS. Well, we have no fuel to use RCS. So we are completely in the hands of these parachutes that will fully deploy at 500 meters of altitude. Look there, the heat shield has tumbled away from it. I hope we're not going to tumble out of control. That would be nasty. Fortunately, I think centrifugal Gs are not modeled in the game. Otherwise, Addon and Dutman and Jetser would be getting squished to the sides of the pod. Let's look at the internal view. Look, that's a nauseating view. Must be a little bit scary, but no. Mission Control reassures them that this is completely within the planned parameters of the mission. They're currently at 2 kilometers, plummeting down in a spiral on 2 parachutes that are behaving weirdly. But soon they will be fully deployed, and then they will drift down ever so gently into the embrace of the ocean, where they will be rescued by the ship that's now not visible. It's probably a submarine or something, and then they will entertain and rejoice with their fellow Kerbals with all the science they have gathered, and we will see what we can build with that. Hopefully many an interesting thing. Right, 70 more meters, and then we can go to that ever important R&D facility. I think it will be nice, it will be neat. Let's land. Well, everything exploded off it apart from the capsule itself. That's fine with me. I don't know why that happened, but it happened. Let's recover the vessel. The shuttle is thrown together in a fortnight by the engineers by using the shortcut of beamed power, performed admirably. 1386 science points. Wonderful. First mission to return from the surface of Mars. That completes and satisfies the title of the show, but rest assured we will move on to further redder and greener pastures. We still want these nodes. I could save for this, but when building airplanes and stuff, I found that this 3 was severely lacking. I mean, we didn't have these pre-coolers, nacelles, adapters, fuselages, delta wings, and of course the circular intake. Who could live without a circular intake? Let's research it. It's only 160 science as well. And then we have advanced aerodynamics. Nose cones, wing connectors, pylons, structural wings. This hurts to spend science on because it's actually nothing. Ooh, here we have some nice things though. Thermal turbojets. Yes. Yes, we want this. Because I think we can build nice planes with this and the thermal receiver. And then maybe we can have a big mothership around Venus with a beamed powered Venus plane. That sounds like something I would enjoy. So let's get this. What do we have here? We have Rapier engines. These are horribly behind the times if we can beam power. But then what is this? Atmospheric scoop. We can get atmosphere stuff. No idea what that does, but we have rockets, there's canards, there's wings, and of course the Rapier engine, which is sort of fun, but well, wait. Alright, the ISP is 1200 in a vacuum with intake air. That doesn't really work. Alright. I mean, what do we have here? This is useless beyond all measure. Let's just get this just to be done, just to be over with it. Let's get this as well. More struts and girders and stuff might come in handy. 550. Oh, we can't get that. Damn it. Let's get this useless one then. Right, yeah, that was actually useless. Right, well we did some stuff to move us towards this. I think this plane material stuff plays its part in this magic lightning bullet, whatever it is. Or maybe this one curves back, I don't know. But we got some more toys to play with, and I'm going to try my hand at planey things. For now, thanks for watching. I'm Lorenzo. This was KSP to Mars, where we today returned from Mars. So we will ponder our existentiality and decide where to go and what to do next in the following episodes. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, and see you next time. Goodbye.